Imagine a rainy evening in a small, forgotten corner of the city. The kind of rain that doesn't just fall. It pours, as if the sky itself is grieving. Streetlights flicker weakly, casting long, lonely shadows on the pavement. And there, under a tattered umbrella, a little girl stands, her tiny hands clutching a basket of wilted flowers. She's no more than 6, her dress soaked through, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. She whispers to herself, her voice barely audible over the rain. "Someone, please buy one. I need to find Daddy." Not far away, in a dimly lit diner at the edge of town, a woman named Emily wipes down the counter for the 10th time that night. She's a waitress, 32 years old, with tired eyes and a smile that hides more than it reveals. The diner is nearly empty, save for an old man nursing a cold cup of coffee in the corner. Emily glances at the clock. 9:47 p.m. Another late shift, another night of barely making enough to pay the bills. She sighs, her fingers brushing against a small, faded bracelet on her wrist. It's nothing fancy, just a simple string with a single wooden bead, but she never takes it off. It's the only thing she has left from a life she tries not to think about. Outside, the little girl, her name is Sophie, takes a step forward, her small feet splashing in a puddle. She's been out here for hours, trying to sell flowers to passers-by, but no one stops. Her father told her to wait for him near the diner, but he hasn't come. She doesn't know that he's not coming. Not tonight, not ever. Sophie's father, a man named Kyle, is a CEO of a tech empire, a billionaire who commands boardrooms with a voice as cold as steel. But right now, he's lying in a hospital bed across town. His memory shattered after a car accident 3 years ago. He doesn't even remember he has a daughter. Sophie's tiny frame shivers as a gust of wind tears through her. She's about to give up when a car speeds by, too close to the curb. The wheels hit a puddle, sending a wave of muddy water crashing over her. She stumbles, her basket of flowers slipping from her hands, the petals scattering across the wet pavement like broken dreams. She cries out, a small, desperate sound, and that's when Emily hears her. Emily looks up from the counter, her heart lurching at the sound. She rushes to the window, peering through the rain-streaked glass. There, in the dim glow of the streetlight, she sees the little girl, kneeling on the ground, her hands scrambling to pick up the flowers. Without a second thought, Emily grabs her coat and runs outside, the rain soaking her in seconds. She kneels beside the child, her voice soft but urgent. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay? What are you doing out here all alone?" Sophie looks up, her big brown eyes brimming with tears. I need to sell these for Daddy. He said to wait, but he's not here." Her voice breaks, and Emily feels something inside her crack. She pulls the little girl into her arms, shielding her from the rain. "It's okay, honey. Let's get you inside. You're freezing." Back in the diner, Emily wraps Sophie in a dry towel, her hands trembling slightly as she brushes the wet hair from the girl's face. There's something about Sophie, something in her eyes, that feels so familiar, but Emily can't place it. She gives the girl a cup of hot cocoa, watching as Sophie sips it slowly, her small hands wrapped around the mug. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Emily asks gently. "Sophie," the girl whispers. "My daddy, he's supposed to come get me, but I don't know where he is." Emily's heart aches at the words. She knows what it's like to wait for someone who never comes. She glances at the bracelet on her wrist again, her fingers tracing the wooden bead. It's a habit she's had for years, a way to ground herself when the past feels too heavy. As Sophie finishes her cocoa, the door of the diner swings open, and a man steps inside. He's tall, dressed in a tailored coat, his face shadowed by the brim of his hat. But there's something in the way he moves, something sharp, commanding, that makes Emily's breath catch. He scans the room, his eyes landing on Sophie, and for a moment, time seems to stop. He takes a step forward, his voice low but firm. "Sophie, I've been looking everywhere for you." Emily stands, her heart pounding as she looks at the man. There's something about him, something in his voice, that sends a shiver down her spine. She doesn't know it yet, but this man is Kyle, Sophie's father. And the moment he sees Emily, a memory he thought was lost forever begins to stir. The rain outside the diner has slowed to a drizzle, but the air inside feels heavy, charged with something unspoken. Emily watches as the man kneels in front of Sophie, his hands gentle as he brushes a strand of hair from her face. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he says, his voice softer now, almost breaking. "I didn't mean to leave you out there so long." Sophie throws her arms around his neck, her small body trembling with relief. "Daddy, I was so scared." Emily stands a few steps away, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. She doesn't know why her heart is racing, why she feels like she's standing on the edge of something she can't quite see. The man, Kyle, stands, lifting Sophie into his arms. He turns to Emily, his eyes meeting hers for the first time, and there's a flicker of something in his gaze. Recognition, maybe, or confusion. "Thank you," he says, his voice steady but laced with an emotion he can't name. "For taking care of her." Emily nods, forcing a small smile. "She was out there in the rain. I couldn't just leave her." Her voice is quiet, but there's a warmth in it, a kindness that makes Kyle pause. He looks at her for a moment longer, his brow furrowing as if he's trying to solve a puzzle. "Do I know you?" he asks, almost to himself. The question catches Emily off guard. She shakes her head, her fingers brushing against the bracelet on her wrist again. "I don't think so," she says, but there's a tremor in her voice, a doubt she can't shake. Kyle doesn't press further, but as he turns to leave, Sophie tugs at his sleeve. "Daddy, can we come back tomorrow? I like her," she says, pointing at Emily with a shy smile. Kyle glances at Emily, then back at his daughter. "We'll see," he says, but there's a softness in his tone that wasn't there before. He carries Sophie out into the night, the door of the diner swinging shut behind them. Emily watches them go, her chest tight with a feeling she can't name. She looks down at the bracelet on her wrist, her fingers tracing the wooden bead. It's been 10 years since she last saw the man who gave it to her. A man she loved with every piece of her heart. A man who disappeared without a word. Across town, in a penthouse that feels more like a museum than a home, Kyle tucks Sophie into bed. Her small hand clutches his as she drifts off, her breathing soft and even. But Kyle can't sleep. He sits in the dark, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at a photo on the wall. A photo of a woman he can't remember. His wife, they told him. She died in the accident that stole his memories. The same accident that left him with nothing but fragments of a life he can't piece together. He closes his eyes, and for the first time in years, a memory flickers to life. It's faint, like a dream slipping away, but it's there. A woman's laughter, the sound of rain, the feel of a wooden bead against his skin. He opens his eyes, his heart pounding. He doesn't know why, but he can't stop thinking about the waitress at the diner. There's something about her, something that feels like a key to a door he's been trying to open for years. The next morning, Kyle takes Sophie back to the diner. He tells himself it's for her, that she wanted to see the kind waitress again. But deep down, he knows there's more to it. When they walk in, Emily is there, pouring coffee for a customer. She looks up, and their eyes meet, and for a moment, the world seems to hold its breath. Sophie runs to her, tugging at her apron. "I told Daddy to come back," she says, her voice bright with excitement. Emily smiles, kneeling down to Sophie's level. "I'm glad you did," she says, her voice warm. But as she stands, she notices Kyle watching her, his gaze intense, searching. "You're back," she says, trying to keep her tone light. Kyle nods, his voice low. I think we need to talk." Emily's heart skips a beat. She doesn't know what he means, but there's something in his eyes, something that makes her feel like the past is about to catch up with her. The diner is quiet now, the lunch rush long over. Emily sits across from Kyle at a corner booth, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that's gone cold. Sophie is at the counter, coloring on a napkin with crayons Emily gave her, her small tongue sticking out in concentration. But the air between Emily and Kyle is thick with tension, with words neither of them knows how to say. Kyle leans forward, his voice low, almost a whisper. "I don't know how to explain this," he begins, his fingers tracing the edge of the table. "But when I saw you last night, something happened. A memory. Something I haven't felt since the accident." He pauses, his eyes searching hers. "I lost everything 3 years ago. My wife, my memories. I don't even remember Sophie's first steps. But when I saw you, I remembered rain and a bracelet, like the one you're wearing." Emily's breath catches in her throat. Her hand instinctively goes to the bracelet on her wrist, her fingers trembling as she touches the wooden bead. She wants to speak, to tell him he's wrong, that it's impossible, but the words won't come. Instead, she looks away, her voice barely audible. "You're mistaken," she says, but there's no conviction in her tone. Kyle doesn't let it go. "I'm not," he says, his voice firm now, almost desperate. "I know that bracelet. I gave it to someone I loved, someone I lost." He reaches into his pocket, pulling out a small, faded photo. He slides it across the table, and Emily's heart stops. It's a picture of her, 10 years younger, smiling at the camera, the bracelet on her wrist. And standing beside her, his arm around her, is Kyle. Emily's hands shake as she picks up the photo, her eyes filling with tears. This can't be," she whispers, her voice breaking. "You left me, Kyle. You disappeared. I waited for you, for months. And then I heard about the accident and they said you were gone. I thought you were dead." Kyle's face pales, his hands clenching into fists. "I didn't leave you," he says, his voice raw. "I was in a coma for 6 months. When I woke up, I didn't know who I was. They told me my wife died in the accident, but they never told me about you." He pauses, his eyes searching hers. "Emily, Sophie, is she?" The question hangs in the air, heavy and unspoken. Emily's tears spill over, her voice barely a whisper. "She's yours, Kyle. I found out I was pregnant after you disappeared. I tried to find you, but couldn't. So I raised her on my own." Kyle's world tilts. He looks at Sophie, still coloring at the counter, her small face so much like his own. He remembers now. Flashes of Emily's laughter, the way she used to hum while she cooked, the way she'd held his hand under the stars. And then the accident, the screech of tires, the shattering glass, the darkness that swallowed everything. He'd lost her, lost their daughter, and he hadn't even known it. "I'm so sorry," he says, his voice breaking. "I didn't know. I didn't remember." Emily shakes her head, her tears falling faster now. "I don't blame you," she says, her voice soft but firm. "But I can't just let you back in. Not after everything." Kyle nods, his eyes filled with a pain he can't put into words. He stands, his movements slow, deliberate. "I understand," he says, "but I'm not going anywhere this time. I'll wait. As long as it takes." Weeks pass, and the diner becomes a quiet refuge for Kyle and Sophie. He brings her there every chance he gets, watching as she grows closer to Emily, as the bond between mother and daughter begins to heal the wounds of the past. Emily is cautious at first, her heart still guarded, but she can't deny the way Sophie lights up when she's with her. And she can't deny the way Kyle looks at her, like she's the piece of his life he's been searching for all along. One evening, as the sun sets over the city, casting a golden glow through the diner's windows, Kyle arrives with Sophie in tow. She's holding a small bouquet of flowers, fresh this time, not wilted like the ones she tried to sell that rainy night. "For you," Sophie says, her voice bright as she hands the flowers to Emily. Emily smiles, her heart swelling as she takes the bouquet. "Thank you, sweetheart," she says, her voice warm. Kyle stands a few steps behind, his hands in his pockets, his eyes soft as he watches them. "She picked them out herself," he says, his voice quiet. Emily looks up, meeting his gaze, and for the first time in years, she feels something shift inside her. The walls she's built around her heart begin to crumble, just a little. They sit together at the counter, Sophie between them, her small hands busy with a coloring book. Kyle glances at Emily, his voice low, almost a whisper. I've been thinking about us, about what we could have been. He pauses, his fingers brushing against the bracelet on her wrist. The same bracelet he gave her all those years ago. I know I can't change the past, but I want to be here for you, for Sophie. If you'll let me. Emily looks at him, her eyes searching his. She sees the man she loved, the man she thought she'd lost forever. And she sees the man he's become. Someone who's been broken, but who's trying to put the pieces back together. She takes a deep breath, her voice steady but soft. I don't know if I can ever forget the years we lost, she says. But I think I can try to start again. Kyle's eyes light up, a small, hopeful smile tugging at his lips. He reaches for her hand, his touch gentle. And for the first time in a long time, Emily doesn't pull away. They sit there, the three of them, as the sun dips below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the diner. And in that moment, they're not just a CEO, a waitress, and a little girl. They're a family, finding their way back to each other, one heartbeat at a time. As the last light of the day fades, Emily looks at Kyle, her voice barely above a whisper. We never really left each other, did we? We just forgot how to find our way back. Kyle squeezes her hand, his eyes shining with unshed tears. We're here now, he says, and that's all that matters.